Today is the 20th anniversary of the North American release of Kingdom Hearts, and the birth of the series that has captivated me, well, pretty much my whole life. It's no secret that I am in love with these games, quite honestly, a bit obsessed even. It's a series that I've gotten to grow up with, and it is a cornerstone of my childhood. Thinking about the fact that the series has been around for 20 long years makes me feel really old, honestly, but also happy that I found it at such a young age. Being able to play each new game when they released, and having gotten to see the highs and the lows of the series, it really makes me think back about the massive impact this game has had on my life, how its stories and characters have shaped me into the person I am today, and I wouldn't have it any other way. So to celebrate 20 years of this wonderful series, I thought it would be fun to share my experience and how I got into Kingdom Hearts. For anybody watching, I'd also love to hear about your guys' first experience with the series, whether it was 20 years ago or more recently, in the comment section down below. And without further ado, let's dive right in. I've mentioned here on the channel before that my aunt was a big contributor to my love of video games. I used to spend a lot of time at her house when I was little, and it was kind of our thing. Every time I'd go over, that's pretty much what we did, was play video games. We played all kinds of stuff together, but she was a huge fan of the Final Fantasy series. And while at the time I was a bit too young to fully grasp a lot of the themes within them, they quickly became my favorite games to play with her. Now as for Kingdom Hearts, I remember it like it was yesterday. I had a 4-day weekend and was spending it at my aunt's house. We had literally just beaten Final Fantasy IX. I was watching Disney Channel in her living room with her next to me, and we saw the Disney Labs Kingdom Hearts commercial for the first time. Which, by the way, shout out if anybody remembers that, because that's super old. We were both blown away. It looked incredible, and already we knew this was the next game we wanted to play together. Obviously, being as young as I was, I grew up on all the Disney movies that would serve as the setting for Kingdom Hearts. So there's no denying that I already loved the Disney aspect of the game and was sold immediately. The game had amazing character designs, the combat looked so cool, and it honestly made me think about how I imagined Final Fantasy if it had real-time combat, but my eagle-eyed aunt was the one to actually first notice that the game wasn't just a really cool looking Disney game. She's the one who caught the Squaresoft logo over the game's title and told me that was the company who made the Final Fantasy games that we have grown to love playing together. At this point, the commercial had said the game was already available for the PlayStation 2, so with no time to waste, we got ready, we got in her car, and head straight over to the nearest game store to go pick up a copy. We picked it up, and on the way back to her house, I remember just staring at the box cover and flipping through the manuals inside, looking at the characters. I was so excited to play this game. Even at such a young age, I knew this was not a normal combination of IPs. Disney characters interacting with some of the Final Fantasy characters I got to know through playing games with my aunt sounded so outlandishly intriguing to me, and I was ready to eat it up. This was literally a Disney Final Fantasy game, and I couldn't believe it. After getting back to her house, there wasn't a moment spared. We put the game into the PlayStation 2, loaded it up, and I remember this so vividly. The start menu slowly fading in, and Dearly Beloved began to play. I had literal goosebumps, and I knew right then I was hooked. My aunt and I played through the entire story of the game in just 4 days, and even after everything we had played together so far, as much as I loved those games, I had never been captivated the way I was by Kingdom Hearts. This game had everything I loved about video games. Beautiful and memorable music, great characters with amazing character development, and a deep story that to this day still brings tears to my eyes almost every time I beat it. But it also had something more. I think it was the fact that I was so young, and getting to play as Sora, who is a lot younger than most protagonists I was familiar with, added a sense of relatability I wasn't used to. It was so easy to see myself in him, and the way he cared about his friends and could see the light in dark times. Thinking back on it now, it really makes me miss those days of innocence before the world and life kind of take all that away as you get older. I think one of the best things about my very first experience playing through Kingdom Hearts was that it was also my aunt's first time, which wasn't the case for pretty much any of the games we had played before. From the worlds, the characters, the twists and turns, we both got to experience this amazing story, and we got to experience it together. And it's something that I've always cherished and will remember for the rest of my life. I knew right after beating the game, Kingdom Hearts was my absolute favorite video game of all time, and soon it would become my favorite video game series of all time. I'm so in love with these games, the characters, and the music, and I don't mean to sound repetitive, but it truly is so hard to put into words my feelings towards this game because pretty much anything I say about it doesn't ever feel like it's enough. But that, guys, was my Kingdom Hearts experience. That was my first time getting to play this game and getting introduced to this series, and here we are 20 titles later, 20 years later, and I still love it so much. I'm very excited to see what your guys' experience was with the game. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel, and I will see you guys on the next one.